Distinguished, good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, thank you.
My name is Bamikole Omishore. I'm with the National Assembly TV. We're here today to pretty much talk to you to enlighten Nigerians about yourself and what you do. Could you please tell us your name and introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, my name is Dino Melaye. I'm a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I represent the wonderful people of Kogi West Senatorial District in Kogi State. Yeah, that's just me.
Okay, distinguished. My main reason for interviewing you today is this. There's been a lot of conversations online, but I want us to bring it back to your core responsibility as a senator. Could you tell us in the last 2 years, what could you say has been your achievement as it relates to bills, motions, and other duties as a legislature?
Yeah, to start with, I would say I've done the best I can as a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria within the last 2 years. And talking about my activities as a senator in the last 2 years, I will say that to the glory of God, I have the highest number of motions in the 8th Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and I'm one of the leading members with the highest number of bills also in the 8th Senate. And I want to say that every legislator is got about 3 cardinal responsibilities. One, the act of lawmaking. That's through motions and bills. And I want to say that I've done brilliantly well in that regard, and possibly that may be the reason why I was elected and honored with the award of the best senator 2016. And also, one would say the second responsibility of every legislator has to do with representation. That means making sure that your constituency get fair representation and in the sharing of the national cake. And that also I have done brilliantly well, because I've attracted some developments to my constituency, and not only in terms of infrastructural development, I've also helped in terms of employment into federal ministries, departments and agencies of government. And the third responsibility has to do with oversight function, and that is at committee level. And I want to say that is also going well. I've done greatly well in that regard. But more importantly, one would say that there's always room for improvement at all levels. But I've been able to move over 20 bills since I got into the Senate, and also I have over 30 motions.
Well, distinguish yourself on the executive. You belong to the same party,
yeah,
which is the APC. Are you saying that your party is not having enough influence?
Anyway, I would say that, like I told you, it is not about the party. Even the president is not the president of APC. He's the president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, including witches and wizards of this country. He's their president. He's the president of everybody. So the issue of party does not. Party is important when you talk of representation, when you talk of flag bearing. But when it comes to development, development is national. And you should not even be partisan about it. If you find a good man who is a PDP member or ABGA member, but can deliver, appoint him or her in the interest of national duty, than to bring an APC man who have no wing or idea of what to do and put him in a position. Today, there's a medical facility in this country headed by a lawyer. What do you expect that? What do you expect from such places? You have ministers appointed in areas where they have no cognate experience at all.
What is the Senate now doing in that case? You screened them. You screened them.
We have just insisted now. You remember that I brought a motion on the floor of the Senate to say that to screen ministers now, the president must attach their portfolios to us. If that is done, by the time you bring a ministerial nominee to us, we don't even know what ministry we are going to post him. We don't know the areas of competence and area of questioning. For example, lawyers were brought to us today. They are Minister of Defense. They are this and that. So but if you attach his portfolio, we can now ask him questions in that area of discipline and see if he is capacitated experienced enough, knowledgeable enough, have the technical know-how to manage that particular portfolio. But except that is done, we will continue to run into crisis.
Which now brings us to the question. You're saying to take active step on the resolution. We've seen resolution on the SGF, both from the Senate and the His Excellency, the Vice President, that was done on the SGF. Nothing has been done. Nigerians are asking the question, what's the legal framework for the Senate to be able to do something, or the National Assembly, if no action is taken?
You see, the truth of the matter is that we have legal limitations. There is what I call a lacuna in the Constitution, where powers of implementations of resolutions from the National Assembly lies in the executive. And we are a little incapacitated in some instances when we pass these resolutions and there is no action from the presidency. We do not have any legal teeth to move further because of the inhibitions and shortcomings in the Constitution. We can only work areas where we pass laws and the president refused to assent. After 60 days, we have the powers, 30 days or so, we have the powers to veto such laws. So, but that is limited only to law making. But where there are just mere resolutions or reports of the Senate, the law did not empower us to move further. So automatically at that point, there is a serious limitation. But I think there should be an amendment to the Constitution to make the resolutions of the National Assembly, understand, enforceable. If they become enforceable by law, we will make a lot of progress. Because now we sit down, we conduct investigations, we are empowered by the Constitution to do that, we come up with resolutions, and these resolutions are either rubbish or not even attended to at all. Then it's automatically make a mess of government's investments, because every investigation costs money. You summon people, you hold public hearings, you hold investigative hearings, you involve consultants, come up with powerful, progressive resolutions, and it is jettisoned by the executive. I think there's a need to amend the Constitution to make the resolutions of the National Assembly and reports of the National Assembly enforceable.
Distinguished, let's go to a more recent letter that was just received, that was actually read today. It was on the request for environment. Nigerians are very hungry. I have to tell you, people want to eat, people feel that they need to feel the impact of government. Could you tell us what can we expect from the Senate as it relates to, one, the request for the environment, and also what's going on with the budget implementation, but mainly the 8th Senate? What can we expect to translate for an average man on the street to feel that, today I can eat because the 8th Senate did X, Y, Z?
You see, the truth of the matter is that the budget of a country is a law. Once you pass the budget, it becomes a law. And laws are meant to be obeyed. We just passed, this budget has been passed. It has not even been implemented. And you are talking of environment. I want to see even the executive implementing the non-contentious part of the budget according to them. But remember that a law is a law. So, in bringing environment now, for me, from my own point of view, is not agreeing with what the National Assembly has done. Because the power of appropriation is with the National Assembly. And if we have passed a budget, you have not even implemented that budget. You are already bringing environment to say, no, we do not agree with the budget pass. We want A, B, C, D, E to be amended.
But we're in October, distinguished. So
yes.
Could you tell us, is the Senate aware of what percentage of the budget has already been implemented?
We just invited the Minister of Budget and Planning and the Minister of Finance, and there's only been one release since the passage of the budget, and 15% is a fail.
So if 15%...
15 by any standard is F9.
Okay, if 15% of the 2017 budget has just been implemented into October of 2017, so what percentage should we expect the end, when the budget is full circle, I believe in March, what percentage of that budget could be?
You see, we will continue to roll over in error if we don't get the right thing to do. The executive must be sincere that there's no money. There is no point bringing a budget of 7 billion when you can only spend 2 trillion. And sorry, bring a budget of 7 trillion when you can only spend and afford 2 trillion. We must be sincere to ourselves. We must speak the truth to ourselves. Leaders are not meant to be deceptive. They're not meant to be corny. They're not meant to be, they are meant to open up and be open. Let Nigerians know we're in precarious situation. Why will you present a budget of 7 billion when from your internally generated revenue and sales of crude oil, you can only raise 2 trillion? Where are you expected to get the 5 trillion, understand, to run the budget? At the end of the day, you will only spend 2 trillion, and 2 trillion of 7 trillion is a fail mark. So you can never, at any point, implement your budget. We have gone through austerity measure in this country, but leaders must come out open and say, come this year, from our revenue, from everything, we can only spend 2 trillion. Prepare a budget of 2 trillion and implement the budget 90-something percent to 100% on 2 trillion, and then begin to work on the economy. But let me tell you, in this government, we have square pegs in round holes. You cannot give carpentry job to a tailor and expect him to perform. The economic managers of this country, we need to rejig the economic managers of this country, because you cannot expect, you cannot give what you don't have.
In that case, do you think a cabinet reshuffle is imminent? I mean, I know it has nothing to do with the Senate.
Not only cabinet reshuffle. Cabinet reshuffle has to do with ministers. You have strategic positions in this country that is manned by the wrong people. A coach is as good as members of his team. The president cannot be minister of petroleum, cannot be minister of internal affairs, but if you have a good minister, you have a good DG, you have a good MD, you have a good group MD, my brother, the economy will move. Because these are people who will understand, they are working within their terrain. Like I said, you give carpentry job to a tailor, no matter his sincerity of purpose, of heart and commitment, his performance will be a beautiful nonsense. So the president in this second half of his government must come back and think outside the box, must rejig his complete appointments, bring out people with vigor, forget politics, forget what part of country we come from. Let's get meritorious. Let's get guys who can get the job done. The SGF misbehaved because he has never worked in any public service in his life before becoming the SGF. The SGF of a country is the manager of the entire process of governance. So you bring a man who is not indoctrinated and imbibed with the act of civil administration or the rudiments of public administration, definitely is meant to misbehave. It's like wearing an oversized shoe. And that is replicable in every other position in this country. You must get people who have the capacity and capability to deliver. I've been saying this from day one, that there is a lot of nepotic appointments in this government.
You mentioned corruption while you were talking a few times, which brings me to some of your motions that has to do with corruption. Motion on corruption in Manitoba deal, motion on the TSA, the repatriation of over 2 trillion in TSA, which some have said is one of the biggest achievements of Senate. And also right now what's really trending all over the news, online and traditional, is NNPC. I remember you raised the motion on the discrepancy in subsidy payment and non-remittance. In view of what's going on in the society right now, today, October 5th, would you like to shed some light on the effort, the Senate that you're a member of, the 8th Senate? What is the Senate doing about corruption?
Anyway, I want to start by saying that first, corruption is the bane of our development as a nation. Nigeria is where we are today because of corruption. Our roads are not passable because of corruption. Our health institutions have become mere consulting clinics because of corruption. Education in this country is at its lowest ebb because of corruption. As I speak to you today, Ghana is just completed their second national cardiothoracic center. Today in Nigeria, Ghana with a population of just about 20 million people, just built a second national cardiothoracic center. Nigeria with a population of about 200 million people, we do not have one single national cardiothoracic center. Anybody with a heart-related problem, survival ratio is 0. The most annoying thing is that in the Ghana National Cardiothoracic Center, we have 34 Nigerian cardiologists presently working in the Ghana National Cardiothoracic Center. All this is happening as a result of corruption. So, if we do not fight corruption, if we do not tame corruption, then automatically we cannot have development at any strata of our national life. So, I'm passionate about the fight against corruption, because without fighting corruption, we cannot get anything done. And that is why you find out that most of my motions are anti-corruption based, because it's a cankerworm that if we do not fight, we won't get anywhere. And I want to salute the 8th Senate, that no Senate in the history of democracy in this country have come out with articulated approach to the fight against corruption like the 8th Senate under the able leadership of Senator Bukola Saraki, who also have manifested his anti-corruption postures even before becoming the Senate president. You will recall that he moved a motion on subsidy in the 7th Assembly that eventually blossomed into the probe of subsidy and even led to the 2012 subsidy protests and all that. So I want to say that corruption is the bane of our development as a nation. Every one of us must concentrate on fighting it and making sure that those responsible for this act is prosecuted and fought. Senate exposed the corruption in the office of the SGF. We've done a lot of exposition on corruption, and I want to believe that the executive must also, in the same vein, act on resolutions and reports of the Senate in most of our investigative hearings. By this collaborative effort, we will make sure, and then we can begin to talk about development in this country.
Distinguished, now let's take it a little bit local. Politics is local, as we've heard. Let's go back to Kogi State. You've been representing your good people for the last, over 2.5 years. Could you tell us what are the key achievements that you say, okay, my people back home, let's forget national politics right now. What have I done? This is what I've done for you as your senator.
I will start by saying that I've influenced a number of appointments at the federal level. We've got a few employment also here and there in terms of human development. And I thought, so in terms of infrastructural development, I've attracted up to date over 30 federal projects to my senatorial district, spread across the 7 local governments. Schools have been built, as facilities are going on. Infrastructure development is here and there. Even in this budget of 2017 already, I have 56 projects running to billions, including the Kabai-Lori Express Road in the budgets this year. So in terms of representation, I've tried, and personally, I've done a lot of empowerment scheme and skill acquisition programs for the underprivileged, for widows. There have been a lot of relief materials distributed across all boards in the local government. I have scholarship programs for indigent students that is ongoing, and over 300 students are benefiting annually from that. Apart from other empowerment and distribution. But apart from all that, I have given the constituency a voice. Nigeria today, you say Kogi West, they know that. You ask who is the senator representing Kogi West, I'm sure they will tell you it's Dino Melaye. That is the voice that is needed, speaking for those who cannot speak for themselves. Okay.
In light of everything else that's going on, the next less than 2 years is left for you to finish your term as Senator of the 8th Assembly. What should the people of Kogi West expect from you?
The people of Kogi West should expect progress. And a man who has passed his exams deserves promotion. That is what I deserve. I've been nominated. Sorry, I've been decorated as the best senator 2016. I just got a notice a week ago that I'm going to be decorated again on Monday as the best senator 2017. That means I'm getting some haze in my legislative responsibilities, and that should deserve some promotion.
Well, distinguished, I just want to say a big thank you for giving us an opportunity to speak with you as it relates mainly with your core responsibilities as a senator. Like I said before I started, I wasn't going to go into the different politics that's been going. I think you've had much exposure on that. But it's been a pleasure speaking to you on bills and motions and your duty as a senator, and we hope to speak to you sometime soon again.
I want to thank you very much, and thank you for